Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and hauntings.
Today's story takes us right here to Pittsburgh. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
Let's get into it. So, Chatham University is the topic today. And have you been to the campus?
I swear yes. I've had to. I've at least driven through it. I don't even remember which one is Chatham. Is it down the street from Pitt?
No, that's Carlo. Chatham, I think you pass on your way to Shady Side. It's confusing because Carlo and Chatham are both purple colored, but yes. Chatham's like a lighter purple.
Okay.
And I think Carlo is purple and
like a
gold.
Deep purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's real.
But I've had to have like at least driven past it.
Yeah. So I actually almost went to Chatham for my master's program.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And they had a program I was interested in, but it was, I think, quadruple the amount.
Is it expensive?
It must be.
Oh my gosh.
It is for master's program.
I don't know why, but I always assume Pitt is like the most, or not Pitt, Carnegie Mellon. I knew that was more expensive than Pitt. But
well, I'm sure CMU was way pricier, but for my master's program, I got a scholarship at Duquesne, so it was way cheaper.
Love Duquesne.
And I loved my time there. Shout out Duquesne Biotech Masters. Not that anybody from that program listens. I doubt. But anyways, I toured it because I was interested in it. And they actually do have very good science programs from what I've heard. I believe when I was looking, they were nationally ranked even maybe. So like very good programs, which is strange because I feel like it's the least talked about of the Pittsburgh schools.
Yes. I, again, did not know which one it really was because I know, obviously, Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, Duquesne, right? And Point Park, because that's, clearly downtown. But, other than that, it's, Chatham and Carlo, I don't really hear about very often.
Yeah, Carlo's a lot of nursing. But, yeah, I guess maybe we were far enough removed from Chatham and they didn't mix as much because I feel like
that's true.
Pitt really mixed with Point Park.
Yes.
But less with CMU, a little bit maybe, but definitely not with Chatham. I never think in college I met someone that went to Chatham.
No.
Yeah, so maybe that's why. But regardless, it is haunted and has a really, really cool history. And I will say the campus is beautiful. It's really picturesque. And you'll understand why. So all the history comes directly from their website. We try to stick to the actual location's website as much as possible for the history. That way, it's not like a Wikipedia page.
Right.
So, the university was chartered on December 11th, 1869, under the name Pennsylvania Female College, under the direction of Reverend William Trimble Beatty, who is a pastor of the Shadyside Presbyterian Church. I had no clue, sorry.
I just went, oh.
I had no clue that it was that old. I don't know why I thought it was a recent university. It was chartered in 1869.
Yeah, that's a really long time ago.
The Pennsylvania Female College initially occupied the largest private residence in Allegheny County at the time, the George Berry Mansion, which sat atop 5th Avenue in Shadyside. So we're right. You do drive past it on the way to Shadyside.
Yes.
And it comprised just 15 faculty and over 100 students on an 11-acre campus.
That's huge.
For a private residence?
Yes, yeah. And I honestly, it's so cool to me that people used to just be so into starting an education, starting a university, wanting to educate people that they used to just take up private residences.
Right.
To do it.
For women in 1869.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yes.
So in 1890, the name of the institution changed to the Pennsylvania College for Women. And in 1955, the name changed again to Chatham College. So I don't think you can call yourself a university unless you're granted it, which is why it was the college. And in 2007, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania granted it university status.
That's very recent.
It is. And I wonder if that's why we think it's a newer university.
That's true, actually, yeah. Honestly, it's funny. I just learned in this moment right now what the difference is between a college and a university. I've always wondered. I just never, I would sit there and I'd be like, I wonder what the difference is. And then I would never look it up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a college example that I know. Lebanon Valley College is a college. Interesting.
Yeah. It's cool.
And so Chatham is apparently a pretty big university. Again, I didn't really know. Or a pretty big deal, I guess. It has 2,400 students. So I'm not trying to be rude. I mean, hail to Pitt. Hail to Pitt. So Chatham currently has 2,400 students and over 60 undergraduate and graduate programs.
That's a lot.
That's not that many students per program. That's like an average of 40 students per program. Although I'm one to talk. My grad program had like 10 people in it. So
that's cool though. Listen, yeah. I really love, so I was a bio major when I first started at Pitt, and then I switched to history because I realized quickly bio was not my thing. But it was kind of nice going from like 200 people lecture halls to like a smaller class size of like 10 to 15 people. Like that was, I always like loved the closeness of that.
Yeah, definitely Bio 1 is like a 400 person class at Pitt.
It's insane. That's actually how I figured out I needed glasses, because I'd always get there late and I'd have to sit at the top, and then everybody was like, I can see the board. And
that's a like, big, it's big. I know we're talking about Pitt, but I almost fell down the stairs of that room one time. I had a neuro class in there, and I had crossed my legs for an exam, and I stood up to turn it in, and I like wobbled. She's a not a neurologist, but she's PhD in neuroscience. She's probably like, what is happening with this woman? Anyways, so much smaller class sizes. And I guess, again, because I don't know much, I thought, okay, someone told us Chatham was haunted. How haunted is it?
Right.
Very. This is probably one of the longest set of notes I have, because they're just so interesting. And maybe it's more interesting to me because I'm not 100% familiar with all of the different buildings.
Yeah.
But there's a few buildings involved. So we're going to start at Fix Hall. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Fickes. And this is a dorm for first years. It didn't say freshmen, it just said first years. So I wonder if that also includes transfer students.
Oh.
But it is for first years and is allegedly home to many spirits. The most well-known apparition is affectionately known as Billy on campus. And he is a young boy that has been known to bounce a ball down the hallway of the dorm.
Oh.
I know. And I feel like hearing it as a story, it sounds really cute. But I can't imagine you go to college, it's traumatic enough, and then you just see this ball bouncing down the hallway on its own.
Actually, that's fair.
Right?
Or can you imagine like being in the shower and just hearing a ball bounce down the hallway? Because I used to... Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Woof.
That would be crazy. And it is said that he is really trying to befriend them, but it definitely startles a lot of people, which I would be terrified.
Yes.
It was built in 1927, and Fix Hall was once the home of Edwin Stanton Fix, who was a civil engineer.
That name sounds so familiar.
Really? Are you thinking Frick?
No, Edward Stanton.
Oh, weird. I've definitely never heard of him. Well,
That's
I shouldn't
funny.
say definitely. I don't remember hearing of him.
Yeah.
We'll have to look up more about him. Maybe he built a significant bridge or something.
Oh, maybe.
Or honestly, maybe if he was a civil engineer, maybe he was discussed in a previous episode.
Oh, true.
So, could be. But it is also believed that his spirit wanders the halls of the home looking for lost belongings, which is interesting to me. And it makes me wonder, is Billy his son? It didn't say much about his family.
Actually, that's a really good question. I have no... Well, I don't know why I would know that.
You're like, me and Edward Stanton. Edwin, I said it. Me and Edwin go way back.
Yeah.
The other thought I had is Billy the manifestation of childhood Edwin?
Oh, maybe.
You know, like maybe he's just there.
That would be a very interesting haunting.
Right.
Because that's not something we've ever seen before. I mean, you know, we've talked about that one person who I cannot remember what episode this was. I think it was recent, though. He was walking along the path of the battlefield, the Paoli.
Yeah.
Yes, the Paoli battlefield episode. The general was kind of like walking along the path to Erie.
Yeah, General Wayne, yeah.
Yes, but people saw him at different points. And so I think it'd be interesting to have that switched from location to time.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And I feel like I always am saying spirits are dead, or spirits are in afterlife as they were alive. And to me, that typically means embodying how they were when they passed. But I guess you could choose to present yourself however.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that one was really interesting to me to consider, are they the same? Are they different? Are they related? Because I was trying to think of how else a kid would have gotten there. Unless it was like in the family, or is Edwin.
Right.
Because it was a private home. Second up, we have Woodland Hall, which was initially built in 1909, but has undergone multiple renovations, including expansions in 1929 and 1592 when Columbus sailed. All right. No, it was not 1592. It was 1952.
Right.
So getting into later into the 1900s, more expansions and renovations. And a rumor on campus is the Blue Lady of Woodland Hall. And she is regularly spotted and often startles Woodland's unsuspecting residents. And I think you go to college, you hear a lot about like local legends and like traditions and stuff. And so people are probably saying, oh, everyone's saying my dorm is haunted. But then when you actually experience and see it, I'm sure it's very, very different.
Yes.
So she is said to wear a stately blue dress and has even been known to wander into students' rooms while she's wandering the halls.
That is not great.
I know.
And not like, it's not great of the ghost. I'm saying like people who are in these dorms are probably terrified.
Yeah. I cannot imagine waking up and seeing a woman in like a huge blue dress. I picture it as like a hoop skirt. I guess yes. I don't really know what stately is. That's how it's been described. But or woman in general in your dorm, yes. when you already feel again so unsuspecting and stuff.
Right.
But I don't think Woodland Hall is for first years like Fix is.
Okay.
Still.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, still. I mean, as you get through college, I mean, depending on your experience, it could get like more stressful.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. That's a great point. But that's not all. Woodland Hall is said to also be home to a child ghost who occasionally tries to get students to play with it. Ooh. And so again, is it her son? Is it just another kid there? I didn't see much about the history of Woodland Hall, but I think since it was built in 1909, it was probably built for the university.
Yeah.
So very interesting. Not much is known about the actual identity of these spirits. People have tried to figure out who they are and they can't, which is a shame.
I wonder if the stately lady that's all right.
The Blue Lady of Woodland Hall.
Yes. I wonder if maybe she was just like a student there.
Oh yeah.
And maybe there's not really, I mean, I don't know how closely they kept records of actual students, but maybe it was just someone that attended there.
That's a good point actually, because it was a women's college.
Oh yeah.
So she could be an instructor, she could be a student, she could be a dean, who knows?
Yeah.
And I wonder how many records they have dating back then.
Yeah.
Interesting. So next, moving to another building, we go over to Ray Hall, which was built in 1912. So a lot of the buildings really do date back.
Yes.
The building has an alleged history of multiple extramarital affairs. So, scandal. And we had that in the Pitt episode too, actually.
We did.
These people in
Something about a university.
Right. So, first is the unsubstantiated rumor that Julia Ray and James Laughlin had an affair, while her husband, James Ray, had his own affair with a woman on the housekeeping staff. So again, this is unsubstantiated.
Right.
It's just like local legend.
Right.
I don't like speaking ill of the dead, but allegedly they do haunt this space. So students have reported a number of unsettling and unexplainable events happening over various years. So this has spanned many years.
Yeah.
One is a female ghost who seems to roam the halls, and also babies crying. And not just crying, but like wailing in the middle of the night.
That's interesting. Where do they come from?
Well, so I meant to look this up and I didn't. I wonder if James and Julia had a baby and that's what's crying. Oh. Like it's the implications of the affair or the actual happenings of the affair. The baby is symbolizing a broken home. But again, something you wouldn't expect to hear in a college building.
Yes.
Really. I remember when I was in college, I was like, I haven't seen a child in years.
I know. Now when I go to a college campus, I'm like, there are children everywhere.
Right. Oh my God, 18.
I know. Yikes. But no, I'm wondering, so I'm wondering because, if Julia...
Yeah.
If Julia returns to this spot, right, is it maybe because she feels guilty about this time of her life? Because I feel like we've talked about before, like, passionate feelings about a subject can kind of take you back. So maybe she feels guilty, or maybe this was, like, the best time of her life kind of thing. Like, maybe it's a happy return to this part.
Yeah, or maybe it's returning to relive that family. Like you're saying, maybe she regrets it and says, I shouldn't have done it. And so it's like a fake family thing. And I guess it could also be Julia's mistress. Or not Julia's mistress. It could be James's mistress as well.
Yes, actually, that's a fair point.
And who knows, she had a kid. We don't even know her name.
Right. Oh, maybe the baby is a production of one of the affairs.
Stop. I had not considered that. I really had not considered that at all.
And that's why it's crying.
Yeah. That's a great point. I guess we'll never actually know.
Never know.
Until they let us go there for an investigation. So, yet another one. Laughlin Hall, which you might recognize from James Laughlin, who was having an affair with Julia Ray. So Laughlin Hall was built in 1912 also, and a blog called Haunts and History, love the name, very analogous to our interests, said, quote, the worst was a female spirit in Laughlin Hall, 3rd floor. She had long dark hair and a bluish-white dress, and she woke me up one night by putting intense pressure on my chest. Eek. End quote. So I think this is interesting because this makes me think of a few things. One is the Blue Lady of Woodland Hall, because this person's wearing a blue and white dress. So could that be the same? Is Julia haunting all three of these places? Is she the woman in blue, and she's in Woodland Hall, she's in Ray House, and she's in Laughlin House?
Well, I mean, if they're unable to identify the other two, then it might be. And maybe that's why they can't identify them, because they're thinking they're separate, IDs.
Right. Or is it James Laughlin's wife that's grieving similarly,
Oh, yes.
How common was a blue dress?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Usually the different colors symbolize something, right?
I don't know.
Maybe it's just black.
Yeah.
For mourning.
And white for a wedding.
Yeah.
You can wear white for other occasions. I don't know. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Students report other more generic paranormal phenomena, such as lights mysteriously turning on, doors slamming shut, belongings disappearing, and even seeing full-bodied apparitions. And as I always say, doors and lights can be written off. When we went to Black Powder Tavern, the lights flickered at least 7 times. But when you pair all of these things together and, doors are slamming on their own, which if it's a door that slams all the time, okay. If not, how is that happening?
Yeah.
And the lights, and people are seeing these full-bodied apparitions. That gives so much credence to it actually being haunted.
Yes. No, I agree. Because it's almost like a lot of times lights will flicker like in a pattern if they're not caused by paranormal
That's true.
happenings. Like a light will stay on for so long and then kind of flicker a little bit.
Yeah.
But, random things happening like that over and over and over again. And it's not like based on what season it is, what time of day it is. If it's just kind of happening all the time, then it might not be like a natural phenomena causing it.
I agree. I completely think all of the buildings we've mentioned are indeed haunted.
Yeah.
So, Andrew Mellon. Andrew Mellon just owned Pittsburgh, basically. So I'm not surprised that he shows up here, even though it's not Carnegie Mellon University. The Mellon Building on Chatham's campus was once his private home. It included Pennsylvania's first indoor swimming pool and a bowling alley. I know.
I love bowling.
He was very rich.
Oh, well, yeah, also that.
Yeah. I have a bathtub similar to a pool.
So I have a bathtub and nope, I can't think of any analogy for a bowling pin right now.
I know. I'm I could set up some stuff.
Yeah.
But not a bowling alley.
No.
We could probably bowl across the first floor.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
There we go. We'll put in a little bowling alley track.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it was a very nice house, is the point. Over the years, students have claimed to report the smell of cigar smoke wafting through the rooms. Some have even claimed to see Andrew Mellon himself wandering the halls, which I think is cool. I always think that scent-based hauntings are really cool, like soldiers being associated with sulfur or someone smelling a distinct perfume of a loved one. I just think it's really cool that the spirit is appealing to different senses.
Yes. Yeah, and the thing about that for me too is like, you know, you hear things, right, that may not really have happened, or you may like feel something because your skin does that weird thing where it like makes it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But smell is kind of not something that, like, I'm not about to just accidentally smell something that isn't there.
Right. That's actually a really good point. It's like you don't smell things that aren't there unless you're having a stroke and smell burnt toast.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, and this is pre-COVID, so,
yeah,
you know, COVID messed with people's sense.
Yes.
Students have also reported unnaturally cold spots throughout the building, and there's a fun local legend in this space. Rumor says that you have to acknowledge Mellon's portrait when you pass it, or the next exam you take will be cursed.
You know, that's dramatic, Andrew Mellon.
I know. I know, and I was trying to think of an equivalent at Pitt. I don't think we had one. What we did have in the hauntings at Pitt was the one performer who would wake you up if you fell asleep in the Union.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have
that was helpful.
Yeah. This one, it's like, even dead, Andrew Mellon is demanding so much respect because he owned everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question, and this might be a dumb question. Are Andrew Carnegie and Andrew Mellon two different people?
I think so. David, fact check.
Because Andrew Carnegie is like a person, right?
Yeah. I think they're two separate people.
Carnegie and Mellon are two separate.
Carnegie and Mellon are two separate people.
That's so crazy.
Actually, yeah, because I saw The Men Who Built America, and they're two separate sections of it. It's a really cool TV show.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I did not... I mean, I don't know who I thought the Mellon was in Carnegie Mellon, but I just had never heard of Andrew Mellon before right now.
Yeah. Another place. There's tons of different buildings that are haunted. And it makes me wonder, how big is this campus? You know? Because there weren't even this many buildings on Pitt's campus. And Pitt is huge. I mean, you only have 2,400 students. So.
Right. There's like 2 in each building.
Right. They have 1,200 buildings. In the city of Pittsburgh, they have 1,200 different buildings.
You know?
Don't quote us. So the next one is the Howe Child's Gatehouse. And it isn't a dorm like many of those locations are. Here, the student workers are actually the people who have the haunting experiences, and specifically during the overnight shift here. So people feel a negative presence and hear mysterious sounds. And the gatehouse, which is formerly known as Willow Cottage, was constructed in 1861. So it's before it was even chartered.
Oh.
It was on the land.
That's an old building.
Yeah, so unlike, I think, every other place that we've covered, maybe not the Mellon House, but the other 4, they were built after the university was chartered. Not necessarily for the university, some were private homes, but they were built after the university was chartered. This one predates the university.
Okay.
And it was part of Pittsburgh's Millionaires Row, which, who's surprised when you have like the Mellon House and stuff like that right there. You know that drive in Shadyside where like the mansions? It's called Millionaires Row.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I have to go see that.
Yeah, because it's like all these like Carnegie and Mellon and whoever else had, and Frick had their homes there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Like, you know that place that gets the big bow on it in Christmas?
No, actually.
Do you live here?
No, I'm a ghost.
It's been the Sixth Sense. We've been the ghosts all along.
Correct.
No. Spoiler. So, yeah. So, anyways, Pittsburgh Millionaire Row. And in fact, it's the oldest remaining element of Pittsburgh's Millionaires Row. So maybe we should just go again to Chatham's campus. And other than the foreboding feeling and some strange sounds that people report hearing, there wasn't much else on hauntings there.
Okay.
And I do always think, you know, it's an old building. Strange sounds could happen. Water drips, creaking, etc. And the foreboding feeling could be because it's from 1861.
Yes, I do feel like, especially if you're aware that there might be a haunting, your brain does play a part in your feelings in a space. Because sometimes you just, sometimes I will say, like, people definitely feel things and it's because of presences. Like, I don't want to debunk that completely because I don't think that's accurate. But I do think, like, sometimes there is sort of a placebo effect.
I agree. And knowing how haunted the rest of the university is, I could see people being like, oh my gosh, this must be haunted too.
Yeah.
So, take or leave that one. Okay, one more. I feel like we're doing a tour of Chatham. So I'll read a quote, and this is about Barry Hall. And a Chatham ambassador, who I think is like a Pit Start guide. What were they called? Panthers?
Oh, Pit Pathfinders?
Pathfinders. I remember, I was like, I can't even remember what they were called. So, but a Chatham ambassador, I would assume it's the same thing. Like, they walk students around. They were quoted discussing a haunting at Barry Hall, saying, quote, "My recommendation is Barry Hall, the admissions building on campus. I have worked here for nearly 4 years. In the attic, there is an extremely creepy rocking horse. The story told is that the rocking horse belonged to the little boy that lived in the attic. Not much is known about it, but I personally believe the rocking horse mane is made out of human hair." End quote.
I would not be surprised.
Right.
That's still very creepy, though.
That's what I was thinking. Because I was thinking, well, what else are you going to make it out of?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, they're not going to use straw.
Right.
And they didn't really have a ton of synthetic materials.
Right. And it was probably a luxury item if it was made out of human hair. But I think it's, again, children ghosts, I feel like they get everybody. They're just very, very creepy. Yes. Specifically rocking horses. I feel like there's a trope in horror movies.
Yes.
That, like, slowly moving.
Yes. It's like a swing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The children are singing Ring Around the Rosie very slowly. So, definitely interesting. I think it's interesting, too, that an ambassador to the university would say this,
Yes.
And I guess they were asked, like, where do you think is haunted? So they had to pick a place, but very interesting. And I couldn't find anything else about the hauntings there other than that one quote. So, again,
that's a big quote.
Yeah, it is. It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's creepy for sure. So, that is it for the Chatham University hauntings. I would love to do an investigation on this campus because it seems so active, and it seems, to me, it walks a line that we don't often see between residential and commercial, where even Pitt, like, yeah, it used to be a hotel before it was the Union, but that was still commercial. This was residential and is now commercial. So I think it'd be really interesting, a really unique setting.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. It's funny because earlier we were talking about doing investigations, and I had said, like, I don't really think, like, I would be too freaked out because we do take, like, a scientific look at it. It's not like a sensationalized thing. Mm-hmm. It's more like us going and just trying to connect with whatever spirits are there. Okay, but I am telling you right now, I will not be going into that attic. I will be going nowhere near the rocking horse.
Yeah.
That would freak me out, I think.
Yeah.
Because that, again, like, maybe a placebo effect, maybe the spirits, but I already know it would be a very eerie feeling.
Yeah.
So
I will say, I always pay attention to, like, how I feel researching, and some of it I'm sure is my own bias. Everything else I felt pretty okay, but that rocking horse, when I first read the quote, I immediately got a bad feeling about it. And I think with paranormal investigation, you really have to pay attention to the feelings that you get.
Yes.
And it's like, I would happily go look into Woodland Hall or Fix Hall and play with Billy. The rocking horse, I can let that be.
Yeah, and I think maybe what's a little bit eerie about it, just even the quote, is like, why does this person personally believe the rocking horse is made out of human? Like, what about it have they experienced or, like, seen that they're, like, definitely human hair? I think that's why it gives me sort of like an eerie feeling, because I'm like, well, we don't know any of the circumstances surrounding it.
Right.
It's kind of creepy.
That's a good point, actually. It's like, the other ones, we know more about the history and stuff, which is so important to the haunting. So, yeah. I think it'd be cool to smell the cigar smoke for sure.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Yes. Agreed.
So those are the hauntings of Chatham University, one of many haunted universities here in Pittsburgh. We also covered Pitt and Point Park. If you know of any haunted universities you want us to research, let us know in the comments. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Paranormal in Pennsylvania. Stay spooky, my friends.